They laughed at Earth's prototype ship until it turned their empire to ash. The galaxy first learned about Earth on a quiet diplomatic cycle, not through war or conquest, but through laughter. The Valeri Empire had ruled known space for over 1,000 years. Their ships were vast and elegant, shaped like flowing blades and glowing with controlled energy. Entire star systems bent to their will without resistance. When a new species announced itself from a small yellow star, the Valeri Council expected little more than a formality. Earth sent only one ship. It arrived at the neutral orbital station drifting above a blue gas giant. The station itself was ancient, built by a long-dead civilization, and now maintained by the Valeri as a symbol of order. Dozens of alien vessels surrounded it, each one larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. The human ship looked painfully small by comparison. It was long and narrow, covered in dull gray plating with visible seams and external modules bolted to its hull. Its engines burned with a soft blue glow instead of the brilliant flares common among advanced races. It had no decorative fins, no glowing sigils, no sweeping curves. Inside the command deck, Commander Lucas Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was calm, though his heart beat faster than usual. He knew this moment mattered, even if the aliens did not think so. To his left stood Claire Morgan, the ship's science officer. She adjusted her display and tried not to stare at the massive Valeri flagship floating outside the viewport. Engineer Ethan Brooks floated near a console, one hand gripping a rail as the ship matched the station's rotation. "This is it," Ethan said quietly, "humanity's first impression." Claire smiled faintly. No pressure at all. The Valeri Council chamber was vast, its ceiling arched high above, filled with slow-moving light patterns that shifted with meaning the humans could not understand. Dozens of Valeri officials hovered on platforms of hard light. Their tall, angular bodies shimmered with metallic skin and glowing eyes. When the human delegation entered, a low murmur spread through the chamber. Laughter followed. It was not cruel at first. It was surprised, almost amused.
"Is that truly their vessel?" one counselor said through the translator field.
"It resembles an unfinished cargo frame." Another added, "I see exposed systems." No aesthetic shielding. Primitive. The laughter grew louder. Lucas stepped forward and inclined his head slightly as protocol demanded. He did not react to the noise. "On behalf of the United Governments of Earth," he said, "I thank the Valeri Council for granting this meeting." The laughter faded, replaced by curiosity.
"You come far for a species so young," said a senior counselor named Velerex.
His voice carried authority and age. "Your signal was detected only 80 cycles ago. You have achieved faster-than-light travel recently." "Yes, yes," Lucas replied. "We developed it within the last few decades." Several Valeri exchanged looks. "Remarkable," Velex said, though his tone suggested mild interest rather than respect. "And you present a single ship as your representative." "Yes," Lucas said again. Valerex's glowing eyes shifted to the image of the human ship displayed above the chamber. "This vessel is your finest work. It is our first deep space prototype," Lucas said. "Designed for exploration, diplomacy, and defense." "Defense," Velerex repeated. "Against whom?" Lucas met the alien's gaze. "Against the unknown." That earned more laughter. The Valeri were not a cruel people by their own standards. They simply believed in strength as a natural order of the galaxy. Weak civilizations either learned from the strong or were absorbed by them. It was how things had always been. Velerex gestured, and a projection of a Valeri warship appeared beside the human vessel. It dwarfed it completely. "Your ship would not survive one exchange with a border patrol," Velex said. "Its armor is thin. Its energy output is limited. Its weapons are unsophisticated." Ethan felt his jaw tighten, but he stayed silent. "We are aware of the differences in scale," Lucas said evenly. "Our design choices were deliberate." Deliberate, Claire thought. That was one word for it. Claire had helped design many of the systems aboard the ship. She knew how many arguments it had taken to convince Earth's leaders not to make it look impressive. Resources had gone into backups, redundancies, and adaptability instead of appearance. Valerex leaned forward slightly. Explain.
Lucas took a breath.
Humans value flexibility. Our ship is modular. Systems can be replaced, rerouted, or repurposed while in operation. It can survive damage by isolating failures and adapting its behavior.
Velrex considered this. Adaptation is inefficient, he said.
Superior design prevents failure in the first place. Ethan finally spoke, unless the threat changes. That drew attention. Ethan bowed his head slightly with respect. Engineer Ethan Brooks. No design is perfect forever. Enemies learn. Environments vary. We built this ship knowing it would face things we could not predict. The Valeri counselors exchanged amused glances. You assume you would survive long enough to learn, one said. Humanity has survived by learning. We had no choice. Belrex waved a hand, dismissing the comment. Your people are bold. We respect initiative. However, the Valari Empire has no immediate interest in alliance with a species at your stage of development. The meaning was clear. Earth was not a threat, not an equal, not worth concern. We understand, Lucas said. We did not come to demand alliance. Only recognition and peaceful contact. That, Velrex said, we can grant. For now, the meeting ended shortly after. Formal data exchanges were made. Star charts were shared in limited scope. The Valari imposed boundaries around their controlled space. When the humans returned to their ship, the station's observers were still watching them. Back on the command deck, Ethan let out a long breath. Well, that went about how I expected. Claire folded her arms. They laughed at us. Lucas nodded. Yes, they did. Are you angry? Ethan asked. Looking out at the stars. No, I think they just showed us how they think. Claire raised an eyebrow. And how is that? They believe strength is static, Lucas said. Something you display once and never question. We know better. As the ship pulled away from the station, the Valari flagship barely acknowledged it. But to them, the human vessel was a curiosity already fading from memory. What they did not see was the constant motion within the ship. Ethan was already reviewing the sensor data collected during the meeting. The Valari vessels emitted energy patterns that repeated in predictable cycles. Claire compared those patterns to the ship's adaptive algorithms. Small changes in frequency caused noticeable reactions in Valari shielding responses. They rely on fixed assumptions, Claire said quietly. Lucas nodded. And they assume we do too. Far away in Valari-controlled space, reports of the meeting were archived with little priority. The new species was classified as minor, non-hostile, technologically inferior. No fleets were redirected. No defenses were reinforced. And no one imagined that the plain gray prototype ship from a small yellow star would ever matter again. Here is Asterisk Part 2, written in third person. Simple and basic English. No caps sentences, no headings, and continuing smoothly from Part 1. Weeks passed after the meeting with the Valeri Council, but the laughter followed the human crew like an echo they could not escape. News of first contact spread quickly across Earth. Some people celebrated, others worried. Many replayed the recordings of the Valeri Council chamber, focusing on the moment when the aliens laughed at the human ship. Commentators argued about whether Earth had embarrassed itself or shown courage. Aboard the Unity, life returned to routine. Training drills, system checks, and long hours of observation filled the days. Commander Lucas Hayes believed the quiet would not last. He was right. The first incident came from the outer colonies, small human settlements built around mining stations and research platforms. They were far from Earth, placed near valuable asteroid belts and unstable stars. A distress signal reached Earth Command, weak and broken. Lucas stood on the bridge as the message played again. Unknown vessels entering controlled space, the voice said, not responding to hails. They are scanning our station. The signal ended in static. Claire Morgan leaned closer to her console. The energy signature matches Valeri patrol craft. Light class. Ethan Brooks frowned. Light for them does not mean light for us. Earth Command responded quickly. They ordered the Unity to investigate, observe, and avoid direct conflict if possible. Lucas read the message in silence. They still think we are fragile, Ethan said. Lucas nodded.
And the Valari think we are irrelevant. The Unity jumped into faster-than-light travel, its engines humming steadily.
Inside the ship, systems adjusted and compensated automatically. Rerouting power is needed. The crew had trained for this moment. When the ship dropped out of jump space, the colony came into view. 3 Valari patrol ships hovered near the station. They were sleek and sharp, glowing faintly with energy shields. Thin beams scanned the human structures.
No weapons fire yet, Claire said.
They are inspecting, maybe testing reactions. Lucas opened a channel. This is a human diplomatic vessel. You are within recognized human territory. State your purpose. There was a pause. Then a response, calm and dismissive.
This region falls under Valeri security observation.
Withdraw your vessel, Ethan muttered. Security observation, my ass. Lucas ignored the comment. This system was listed in our shared charts as neutral. You did not announce your presence. The Valari reply came faster this time. Boundaries are subject to revision. That was when the nearest Valari ship turned slightly, its weapons ports opening just enough to be noticed. The colony station powered up its limited defenses, thin and weak compared to the alien ships. Claire looked at Lucas. They are pushing us. Lucas took a breath. Do not fire unless fired upon. The Unity moved forward, placing itself between the Valari ships and the colony. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the first shot came. A pulse of bright energy slammed into the Unity's forward shields. Alarms sounded across the bridge. Impact absorbed, Claire said quickly. Shields holding at 70%. Ethan's eyes widened. 70 after a direct hit that size. The Valari ships fired again, this time in a coordinated pattern. The beams struck different areas of the hull, testing angles and timing. The Unity shook. Lights flickered. Secondary systems rerouting, Ethan said. Armor plating vented but internal damage minimal. Lucas gripped the command rail. Return fire. Limited response. The Unity's weapons were smaller, less impressive. Narrow beams and compact projectiles streaked toward the nearest Valari ship. They struck its shield. The shield flared, then flickered. Claire leaned forward. Their shield frequency is stable. They are not adjusting. The Valari ship returned fire, confident. That confidence vanished when the Unity changed tactics. Ethan altered the output pattern mid-burst, shifting frequencies faster than the Valari systems could compensate. The next human shot slipped through a weak point and struck the alien ship's outer hull. It did not destroy it, but it damaged a sensor array. The Valari ship pulled back slightly. Lucas felt a strange calm settle over him. They did not expect that. The other Valari ships adjusted position, forming a tighter formation. They are recalculating, Claire said. But they are slow. Too slow, Ethan added. They rely on preset responses. Lucas nodded. Keep pressure. Target non-lethal systems. The Unity maneuvered in short, sharp bursts, changing direction unpredictably. Its smaller size allowed it to turn faster than the Valari ships expected. Another shot struck a second Valari vessel, disabling part of its propulsion. The alien formation broke. After several tense minutes, the Valari ships retreated, jumping out of the system without further warning. Silence returned. On the colony station, emergency lights dimmed as systems stabilized. Cheers erupted over the comm channel. The Unity had not won a battle, but it had survived, and survival was enough. Back on the bridge, the crew sat in stunned silence. We just made them leave, Ethan said softly. Claire exhaled. They did not understand us. Lucas looked at the damage reports scrolling past. And now they do. The Unity returned to Earth space with detailed sensor data. Analysts worked non-stop studying the Valari weapons, shields, and movement patterns. A civilian strategist named Madison Clark joined the discussions.
She had a sharp mind and little patience for tradition. Ha ha.
They are not flexible, she said during a secure briefing. Their empire is built on the idea that no one challenges them, so they never had to learn how to adapt. She pointed to the battle recordings. They expected fear. When they met resistance, they followed old rules.
Earth Command listened carefully.
More incidents followed. Berry patrols tested other colonies. Sometimes they pushed harder. Sometimes they withdrew after brief contact. Each time, human ships responded with slight changes, learning and improving. The Unity was upgraded between missions. Modules swapped. Software rewritten. Tactics refined. The Valari began to notice. Reports filtered into their command structures about unexpected resistance, small human vessels that did not behave like proper warships. Some Valari commanders argued for stronger action. Others dismissed the reports. Minor losses, they said. Anomalies. But the pattern grew harder to ignore. One cycle of Valari patrol failed to return. Then another. No large battles. No grand declarations. Just silence where confidence once lived. On the Unity, Lucas watched the stars pass by as the ship prepared for another jump. Claire approached him quietly. "Do you think they will escalate?" Lucas did not answer right away. "Yes, not because they want war, but because they do not understand us yet." Ethan joined them. "When they do, it might be too late." Lucas gave a small smile. Or just in time. Far away, deep within Valari space, data archives updated their assessment of humanity. The classification changed from minor curiosity to emerging concern. No laughter followed this time, only unease. And for the first time in centuries, the Valari Empire began to feel something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The Valari Empire did not declare war. It did something worse. It decided to restore order. From the Valari point of view, the problem was not humanity itself, but the idea that a small and young species had disrupted balance. The Empire believed fear must be rebuilt quickly, before others noticed weakness. So the Valari sent a task force, not a fleet meant to conquer Earth, but one meant to teach a lesson. The task force entered a busy human trade corridor near the outer colonies. Dozens of civilian ships were forced to scatter as Valari warships arrived in perfect formation. They destroyed navigation beacons and shut down communication relays. The message was clear. We control this space. When the report reached Earth, the response was immediate. Lucas Hayes stood in the operations room, watching the projection of Valari's ship movements. The room was crowded with officers, engineers, and civilian advisors.
"They are not hunting colonies this time," Madison Clark said.
"They are making an example." Lucas nodded. "They want us to react in panic."
Ethan Brooks folded his arms.
"Then we should disappoint them." The plan was risky. Instead of sending a large fleet, Earth dispatched several small task groups, each built around ships like the Unity. They approached from different angles, using independent command and loose coordination. The Valari expected a single defensive line. They got chaos. The first clash happened near a damaged relay station. A Valari cruiser opened fire on a human ship confident in its superior firepower. The human ship did not flee. It accelerated straight toward the cruiser, then cut power suddenly. The sudden change confused Valari targeting systems. The human ship drifted, then fired short bursts at odd intervals, striking exposed systems. Another human ship emerged from behind an asteroid, launching drones that did not attack directly, but flooded the area with false signals. The Valari cruiser fired wildly, wasting energy. Then it lost power. Across the corridor, similar scenes played out. Human ships did not fight like an empire. They fought like survivors. Each encounter was different. Each response unpredictable. The Valari task force began to fragment as commanders tried to follow rigid orders in situations that demanded quick thinking. Aboard the Unity, Lucas watched the battle unfold through shared data feeds. They are overcommitting, Claire Morgan said. Every response assumed symmetry. Ethan nodded. They expect us to mirror their structure. Lucas gave the order. Exploit that. The Unity moved deeper into the conflict zone, avoiding direct confrontation while striking at support ships and command relays. They did not destroy everything. They disabled, confused, and isolated. One Valeri command ship attempted to regroup the task force. The Unity targeted its sensors. When the command ship lost contact with its fleet, panic spread. Valari doctrine depended on central control. Without it, individual captains hesitated. Some retreated. Others pressed forward alone and were overwhelmed. Within hours, the Valari task force withdrew. The trade corridor was damaged but free. Human losses were minimal. The victory did not look dramatic on recordings. There were no massive explosions or burning planets. But the effect was deep. For the first time in generations, a Valeri task force had failed its mission. Inside the Valeri Empire, the response was divided. Some leaders called for escalation. Others warned that the humans were dangerous in a new way. They do not fight for dominance, one analyst said. They fight to change the rules. That frightened the older members of the council. The empire had been built on rules that never changed. On Earth, the mood was cautious. Celebration was muted. Everyone understood that this was only the beginning. Madison Clark addressed a strategic council. This is working because we are not trying to beat them at their own game. We are forcing them to play ours. What is our game? One officer asked. Learning, Madison replied. Faster than they can. The Unity became a symbol, not of power, but of method. Other ships copied its systems. Not identical, but compatible. Each new vessel added variations, feeding data back into a shared network. Every fight made the next one easier. The Valeri began losing territory at the edges of their empire, not through invasion, but through collapse of control. Patrols avoided human-influenced space. Client species noticed and started questioning orders. Some stopped paying tribute. Others quietly reached out to Earth. Lucas met with representatives of smaller civilizations who had lived under Valeri rule for centuries. They were cautious, fearful. Are you replacing them? One asked. Lucas answered honestly. No. We do not want an empire. That answer confused them. Confusion turned into hope. The Valeri Council finally acted. They approved a major operation aimed at ending the problem at its source, a strike toward the heart of human ship production. Not Earth itself, but a major industrial system. The Valeri believed that destroying infrastructure would break human momentum. They underestimated how far humanity had already spread. The attack began with overwhelming force. Dozens of Valeri warships entered the system, firing immediately. Human defenses engaged, but this time the battle was brutal. Ships were lost. Stations burned. Lucas watched casualty reports scroll across his display, jaw tight.
They are angry now, Claire said quietly.
Ethan's hands moved across controls. Angry makes them careless. The Unity joined the defense, darting between larger ships, drawing fire away from vulnerable targets. Human forces did not try to match the Valeri line. They broke it into pieces. One Valeri battleship pushed too far forward. Human ships swarmed it, attacking weak points, then withdrawing before counterfire could lock on. Bit by bit, the massive ship slowed. Then it fell silent. The sight of a fallen Valeri battleship shocked both sides. Some Valeri ships broke formation. Others fought harder. The battle lasted hours. When it ended, the industrial system still stood. Damaged, but alive. The Valeri fleet retreated, leaving wreckage behind. That moment changed everything. News spread across the galaxy. The Valeri Empire could bleed. Client species began openly resisting. Supply lines failed. Local governors delayed orders. The Valeri Council argued bitterly. Some blamed arrogance. Some blamed the humans. Some blamed time itself. Deep within the Empire, production slowed. Coordination failed. Trust eroded. Lucas received a message days later, a request for contact. From the Valari Council. He read it twice.
They want to talk, Claire said.
Ethan exhaled. After everything. Lucas nodded. That means we have reached the point they fear most. What point is that? Ethan asked. The point where they realize this cannot be solved by force alone. As the Unity prepared for its next mission, Lucas looked once more at the ship around him. Scarred, patched, changed, just like humanity itself. The Empire had tried to crush them. Instead, it had taught them how to win. And the galaxy was starting to notice. The message from the Valari Council did not offer surrender.
It offered dialogue. For the Valari Empire, this was not weakness.
It was necessity. The request named a meeting point deep within Valari space, near their industrial core. It was a place no foreign ship had ever been invited to approach. The implication was clear. This was meant to show strength, not fear.
Earth debated for hours.
Some leaders warned it was a trap. Others argued that refusing would only extend the war. Lucas Hayes listened quietly. Finally, he spoke. They are not inviting us to kill us, he said. If they wanted that, they would already be attacking. They want this to end, but they do not know how. The Unity was chosen to answer the call. Not because it was the strongest ship, but because it represented everything the conflict had become. Learning, change, adaptation. The journey into Valari space was tense. Sensors tracked movement everywhere. Massive shipyards glowed like artificial stars. Fleets assembled and disassembled in precise patterns. The Unity looked small among them. But it did not turn back. Claire Morgan studied the data streams pouring in. They are watching everything we do. Ethan Brooks gave a tight smile. Good. Let them. The meeting station was enormous, built around a dead star that had been hollowed out long ago. Energy flowed through its surface like veins. Lucas entered the council chamber once more. This time there was no laughter. Belrex hovered at the center, his metallic form dimmer than before. Around him, the other counselors watched in silence. You have caused great damage, Velix said. Lucas nodded. So have you. The translator carried no emotion, but the pause that followed spoke volumes. Your species did not follow expected behavior, Velrex said. You should have retreated. You should have sought protection or submission. Lucas met his gaze. We did what we always do. We adapted. The word hung in the air. The Valari had no direct equivalent for it. Your methods destabilized our systems, Velrex continued. Our empire depends on order, predictability. Claire spoke for the first time. That is also your weakness. Murmurs spread through the chamber, but Velrex raised a hand. Continue, he said. You built everything to last forever, Claire said. But forever requires change. Without it, even the strongest structure breaks. Velrex turned back to Lucas.
And you believe your people can replace us? Lucas shook his head.
No, we do not want to. That answer caused visible confusion. Then why fight? Velrex asked. Lucas took a breath. Because we were attacked. Because our people were threatened. Because we refused to disappear quietly. Silence returned. Velrex finally spoke. Our empire cannot continue this conflict. Internal systems are failing. Client worlds resist. Production slows. Faith erodes. Ethan leaned forward slightly, then stopped trying to rule everyone. That suggestion struck like a shockwave. Velrex's voice hardened. You ask us to abandon what we are. Lucas replied calmly. No, we ask you to survive what you have become. The council debated for hours. Some argued for one final strike. Others warned it would shatter the empire completely. In the end, reality won. The Valari agreed to withdraw from human space. Trade routes would be shared. Borders would be respected. Client species would be given autonomy under monitored transition. The Valari Empire would remain, but smaller. No longer absolute. The agreement was signed. There was no celebration, only relief. As the Unity departed the station, Velarex watched it go. "You were laughed at," he said quietly to no one in particular. Now the galaxy listens. The effects spread quickly. Former Volari client worlds began shaping their own futures. Some aligned with Earth, others chose neutrality. None were forced. Humanity did not rush to claim territory. Instead, they built networks. Trade, shared defense, education. Their ships traveled everywhere, not as conquerors, but as connectors. The Unity returned to Earth months later. It was no longer a prototype. It was a legend. Lucas stood on a quiet observation deck looking down at the planet below. Cities glowed softly. Ships moved in steady lines. Claire joined him. "Do you think this peace will last?" she asked. Lucas considered the question. Peace never lasts forever, but understanding can. Ethan approached, carrying a data pad. "New designs are coming in. Ships that learned from everything we did." Lucas smiled. "Good. Then the work continues." Far away in the ruins of old Villari command structures, something new began to grow. A civilization learning to question itself. The galaxy did not become safer because humanity was the strongest. It became safer because humanity refused to stay predictable. And long after the laughter faded into memory, one truth remained. Earth's prototype ship had not turned an empire to ash with fire. It had done something far more dangerous. It had taught the galaxy how to change.